Hello everyone. In the last lesson, we deployed our front-end application from our backend. In this lesson, let's have our backend determine the environment variables for our front-end. For most of these variables, it doesn't matter, except for our white RPC backend URL. And the backend should ideally know it, and it would be good for the backend to determine it. Well, let the backend take care of the rest as well. Besides, now our front-end application is being served by the backend, and the variables won't load by themselves. Now we need to write a wrapper for this functionality. Let's get started. Here's what I propose we do. Firstly, in our white config.ts file, we have a function. Well, not a function yet, but a method to get public envs from the list of all envs. And now we need to fetch these envs from the backend as well, specifically those that are white, and pass them accordingly. Therefore, let's refactor this into a separate function to use here instead of this code, and also use it in the backend later. So, in the web API lib folder, we'll create the file parse public nv.ts. The content will be the following. Basically, just copy the old code. Now it looks like this. Well, it's exactly the same. Here, you need to pass nv to it now, and it will return it to us. Otherwise, exactly the same. Now we can import and apply it, parse public, so it doesn't see it yet. All right. Import parse public env. Parse public env and pass these nvs here. Look, it's complaining about us now. It says it can't find him because this TS file's behavior is determined not by our TS config looking into src, but by the TS config of Node. And it only knows about this file. So, we need to inform it about the existence of another file. Let's notify it that this file exists. Well, we'll specify only it, not too much. Okay, now everything is fine, and now it's not complaining. What needed to be done on the front end at this stage, we've done. Now, let's go to our backend and fix the NFTs file. All right, what are we planning here? Now we need to make sure that in our process environments, not only backend environments are included from the .env or .env test files, but also from the web app .tnv files, right? Let's modify what we have. The new code will look like this. Now we will go through it. Here, this function find and file path now takes path part. What is path part? Earlier it was hard-coded. We can take a peek. Earlier we were forcefully searching for .env here. Now we will search specifically for environments in the folder we need, in webapp.env or backend.env. env. All right, and here we just separate it. Looking for a front-end config file. If we find it, we pass it here, as well as for separate Node apps, and everything gets in there. Then we take the backend ones and overwrite what can be overwritten. All right, this is how we created it. We don't need to change the .env file because at backend runtime, we won't use front-end variables. It's important for us just that it gets into the process. env now. The front end will still validate the existence of required variables. Now, we can move to our web app serve and add the following. Well, first, let's retrieve our public env variables. To do this, we'll call the following. parse public.env that we import from the front end. We're all set to import it. So let's import. The process.env gives us warnings, but here we permit ESLint to do it. All right, we've got our public.env. We can even output it to console log. Let's see what we have here now. Console log public.env. So we save it. Opening the backend, done, and it output it for us. Yes, all good. Node.env, host.env, source version, and those that have a white correspondence. That's exactly what we were aiming for. Now we need to pass them to our front end somehow. And here's the plan. We go to our index.html file in its template, so to speak, and we prepare a place where we will insert these n variables. Look, we insert such a script structure in the head. Window is a global object in the browser, and we say that we will have a global variable web.app.env.from.backend, and here we place this construction. Replace me with public n:true. Good. Now you will understand what the plan is next. All right, we've inserted it. Now we want to replace this string on the back end with the n-ith ones we need. Let's do the following. Look, see what happened. HTML source with nith variables. We'll distribute it later. Oops. So, we will distribute it. What does it consist of? We took a regular HTML and replaced there this string. Yes, literally this string with a JSON made from public nth. Well, and this JSON just needs to be passed to neatly display it there. Well, it means we're not substituting any values. And 2, that's the number of tabs. That's how we've done it. Well, and we can output our HTML source to take a look over here. Firstly, we can peek here and see that nothing's happened. We don't see n variables here because we're distributing the built front end. So we need to build it to see what's changed. Building the front end. All right, we're waiting. All right, restart the backend. So, and here we see, we have window, web app, and from backend. It's just an object like this. And now, logically, in the front end, we can access this global variable and get this object there too. So we delete this console log and go to our web app NFTs. Earlier, we parsed it from process.env, and it got to process.env from white_config, and let it continue to come from white_config, because during development, we serve not from the backend, and we still need some variables from white_config. But if we distribute in the production version, then we need to take these n variables from this object. Let's work with this. The final result will be as follows. Okay, here we will replace this with this. We say n from backend. We say we have window. It might complain, so we say from any. If we remove it, it might say that there is no such global variable, but we know it can be there. All right, done. We fetched these n from backend, and then the following. If n from backend contains the key, replace me with public env. When can it be used? If we are in dev mode. In dev mode, this will be stored here, correct? So if we see this, it means we are in dev mode. Accordingly, we take n from prod with n. If we don't see this string, it means these n have come from backend, and there's a real object with ns there. And that's why we parse it. And all of it gets into n. That's the idea. Let's check it. All right, let's go to our page. Now we are in dev mode. So let's log some variable to the console log. What trivial variable do we have that we can tweak and change? Let's use source version. Now we have source version 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Save and output source version. All right. And specifically observe. We have source version 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That is, it was taken properly. But where did it come from? We see it wasn't replaced here. Well, logically, it didn't come from here. So it came from the nmodule file. All right. Okay, let's return it. There was no reason to change it anyway. Now let's build our web app because we added changes there. We need to build it again. Okay, building our web app. We'll request it from the backend. Let's wait. Built. Okay, let's open our front end through the backend. Not on port 8000, but on 3000. Did everything break for us, right? Yeah. So, something's broken. We need to fix it. Let's see what our Surf web app shows. Checking if the HTML source is fine here. The HTML source is fine, but is it replacing NV properly there? It's replacing n times normally. So why doesn't it work? I goofed. Everything works, it turns out. Let's check the console again. Here we input 1, 2, 3. But if we look at the source code, at port 3000, we'll see everything is correctly placed. Well, we managed to achieve what we wanted. We are now passing n times from the backend to the front end in production mode. And we can proceed to deploy on Heroku and serve everything from one process. All right, thank you all. The next lesson will be very complex and engaging, but very useful. See you soon. We are celebrating early. Sorry, we forgot to work on the shard env variables. It expects that everything is in process env, but not everything is there now in the web app. We should properly set the appropriate constructs here too. Let's set them up in the following way. So, we need to check again where to get these variables from. From window, from process env, or from process E2 backend, or from process E2 frontend. Therefore, the adjustment will be the following. We add this corrective code now, and we change the old one to the next. Firstly, we know here that there is a certain pattern. We need either with white or without white, but it is named the same. It's our agreement, so we can, in principle, write a helper here. We write the original name and let it compute itself. How does it compute? It takes and goes, checks if we have window n. We immediately substitute it. Does it exist? Type of web app env from backend. If it is defined at all and exists, then we use it. If it doesn't exist for some reason, say, it's on the backend, fine. Then we'll return an empty object here. And get sharded NV variable. We search for window env with the suffix white, because there we might only have only the white one, yes. Then we look in process env with the white suffix, and in process env without the white suffix. Yes, I just thought, we have such n variables here. And essentially, it doesn't concern these variables. They all have the suffix white. Since it doesn't concern them, probably nothing needs to be edited here. Technically, it could be written like this as well. We can leave it like this for the future, in window. Search like this, in case we need a source version later in the shards. Well, it's better this way. Better safe than sorry. All right, we did it like this, And now our shard variables are also set. That's it? Great. Now we can be happy and move on to deployment. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.